telling y'all, MAGA cannot stand my Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She was on CNN last night, and boy, she got these racist white folks upset. Roll it.
I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education. This is why they are trying to literally say we won't fund the HBCUs, because they know that if they've already gone after affirmative action and they're saying, you know what, don't allow them to come into, say, these PWIs, as we call them, don't allow them to come into these institutions. We know why they created the HBCUs in the first place. It was because they wouldn't allow us into the white institutions. And so now they're not allowing us in. And now they're saying, you know what, we're also going to defund the HBCUs. You know why? Because they don't want any more Kamala Harrises. They don't want any more Jasmine Crockett's. But I got news for them. I don't care what they do. We will fight to the end to make sure that we get our due. Because again, if you want to talk about the people that shouldn't be in this country, you probably need to look in the mirror, because the last time I checked, the Native Americans who Summer ICE have been rounding up, or the Puerto Ricans who are absolutely Americans, listen, the only people that came and colonized this place are your ancestors, Trump.
That's what I'm talking about. And y'all keep in mind, this racist white boy that Trump was forced to fire last time, they brought him back to a major job in the State Department. This is what, go to my iPad, this is what that racist, mediocre white man posted on October 4th, 2024. Competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work. Unfortunately, our entire national ideology is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men. Well, this is real simple, and I keep trying to tell people this, and I've been saying this for years. The real issue with all these little white men running around mad is because a lot of these white folks who are upset, who are attacking DEI, they are mad that they now have to compete. They are mad that black women are going to college more than anybody else. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, it's some black men who are also hating on sisters because they mad about their education. But the real deal is, a lot of these white folks, they believe that any job a black person has was supposed to be their job. How dare you? My sister told me a story. She said they were at a baseball game, and she was telling some of the other moms, the non-melanated moms, she was telling them about her son, my nephew, Trey, getting a scholarship to Seton Hall. And one of the white moms said, well, my blonde-haired daughter likely won't be getting one of those. And then my sister, without missing a beat, said, well, when we went to the welcome reception, there was a whole lot of blonde-haired folk there, and very few folks look like my son. So maybe your daughter should have studied harder. So and I was like, that's what I'm saying, sis. But Melinda, that's the deal. These white folks really believe that they are always the most qualified.
100%. You know, I grew up in what I call an aggressively white town in Santa Barbara, California. And my mom was an educator. My dad was the head of facilities management at UC Santa Barbara. I was at the top of my class when I graduated from high school. I had the second highest number of awards and scholarships and accolades awarded to any student in that school.
Oh, hell no. You wanted them uppity Negroes. Oh, you wanted them.
But I
should have worn my uppity Negro shirt. But go ahead, Melinda. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I got it because I worked hard, and I can tell you how many times I was told I only received those things because I was Black. And I realized as I went through college and went into my career, there's no scenario for anyone that if you show up as a Black person, if you show up as a woman into a higher position where you got there because of hard work, you will always be looked at as a DEI hire, what they think DEI is, and you were never there because of merit. And it's interesting. I just feel like they have mixed up meritocracy with mediocrity.
See, Scott, this is why I ain't never gave a shit what white people thought. So let's just start there. Then again, I ain't never gave a shit what Black people thought. So I never got caught up in yeah, Melinda, this show called Unfiltered for a reason. And so when Clarence, I ain't Clarence Thomas. See, Clarence Thomas walking his silly ass around, man, it's like the white people in Yale were looking at me and they were like, he only got here for affirmative action. I mean, I ain't like how they were thinking about me. So Clarence Thomas been walking around and he was saying, oh, I don't even, my Yale degree is in my basement. I'm looking because of how they treated me. Man, I don't give a damn. How your ass go from being a Black Panther supporter to being a punk ass? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And so I think what we have to do, we have got, and I put this on a lot of Black people, we have not prepared enough of our Black kids to be able to tell a lot of people, Black and white, y'all can kiss my ass.
Yeah, you know, every time I talk to law students and young people, I tell them the first part of your self-actualization is loving yourself. Because if you love yourself, it doesn't matter what people say about you. I will never delegate the power to define how I feel about myself to another person, Black, white, yellow, or brown, because it's too precious of a right for me. And so in these big corporate white environments or in private white institutions, you got to love yourself and you got to believe in yourself. If somebody criticizes you or think that you are less than them, that's their problem. Your confidence is affecting their view of the world, not the other way around. And so, you know, the whole DEI attack by white America or white conservatives is just rooted in ignorance and stupidity. That show me where DEI, any policy, anywhere, says that if you are, quote, for whatever reason, a DEI hire, that somehow you are inherently suspect and a white man is inherently better than you simply because of the color of his skin. Show me that policy. Show me in writing where anyone has ever written that, and you won't find it, if you will. You will not find it, which is why our rhetoric, even about Black excellence, for example, right? What is Black excellence? I know it's prideful and what have you, but in my view, Black excellence undermines my total excellence. I don't just compete against Black people. I compete against all people, right? So I'd rather you say I'm a great lawyer who happens to be Black, as opposed to I'm a great Black lawyer. White people call me a great Black lawyer all the time, and I have to check them on it for that very reason. I think Black people need to be talking about their excellence and that they happen to have melanin in their skin, as opposed to I'm great, Black, blah, blah, blah. So we got to fight back on all of this stuff, especially these DEI hires. I just wrote a piece that was published in The Hill I'm going to send to you about this whole DEI air crash and Donald Trump's ignorance in his press conference when he started talking about this tragedy. So we got to fight back.
Mustafa?
Well, everything that Scott said, you know, it's always interesting. I like to take a look at crises and then ask the question, who was in charge when those crises were going on that allowed, you know, these very devastating things to happen? So if we look at the banking crises that we went through, it was not Black folks who were leading those banks and making the decisions.
Right.
We'll stop there. If we look,
it was one Black dude, Stanley O'Neill, at Merrill Lynch.
Yeah, one out of tens of thousands, right? And then if you look at the housing crisis, again, when you look at the top housing organizations, builders, those different types of things, once again, it was not black folks who were there. If you look at the healthcare crisis, and then you can even go and take a look. Scott talked about pilots. I actually wrote a piece not long ago where I took a look at who are actually flying the jets when we had the unfortunate sets of things that have happened when planes have come down, not just most recently, but going back through history, because we know in our country we have some of the safest skies, but there have been those moments. And it is not black pilots who are leading those planes. So if you want to talk about individuals who do not have the skills that are necessary to lead entities, then we have to take a look and see who actually were those folks who were doing it. So it's very clear when people use this scapegoating around DEI that it has nothing to do with facts. It has nothing to do with truth. It has everything to do with a bigoted view of if I say this enough times, then folks might actually start to believe it. And we saw that play out in the last election.
Oh, yeah. And it's like perfect example. I was just sitting here and I was responding to his tweet. So let me pull it up for y'all. Frank Luntz, the pollster, he had something to say, Melinda, about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. He goes, go to my iPad. He goes, this type of language is popular in progressive circles, but it's toxic waste to voters outside of that. Jasmine for U.S. won her House seat by nearly 70% last year, so she won't see any electoral consequences. But other Dems might if this language becomes trendy with their base. Well, I had to respond to Lil Frank. And I said, bullshit, Frank Luntz. You have no clue about the crap black folks have to deal with every day. And your focus groups refuse to deal with what I lay out in my book, White Fear. You keep making excuses for white voters. So what's interesting is Frank Luntz doesn't call out the white MAGA folk for their attacks on DEI. He doesn't say that language is toxic to other voters, but because Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett calls out mediocre white boys, he defines that to be toxic.
That it reminds me of that Lyndon B. Johnson quote. Someone just reminded me of it when he says, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best color man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. And if you give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. And that's exactly what they are. They are masterful at their messaging of being able to create a common enemy to make their base feel included and galvanized and feel like they're the victims. That's all that this is. They are masters at it.
And better. And better.
Yeah, man. So it's just, people just need to understand really what's going on here. And we're just not, what the folks like Frank Luntz don't understand. In fact, he was on CNN the other day and he was talking, he kept talking about how, this is the stuff, it shows in my focus groups how these voters don't want to hear it. Here's the real deal. White boys like Frank Luntz refuse to call out the racism, the bigotry, the discrimination, and the soft bigotry of these folks. See, the real deal here, Mustafa, is they don't want to be challenged. See, that's why they're pissed off. They hate. So Frank, where are your tweets when these same white folks call Jasmine Crockett ghetto? We know what they're saying. See, that's what cracks me up. He wants her to change her language because these white folks are made uncomfortable with that toxic language, but they are very comfortable when MAGA applies DEI to everything, even in the plane crash, but all the pilots were white.
We saw what they did to their boy Vivek, right? When he said that, you need to up your education and you need to be better prepared. And that's the reason that they needed to bring people, from other locations into the country.
They got rid of him so fast.
Exactly. So they will also check their own. But he forgot that privilege, and you can add white privilege to it, says that I can create the narrative. The narrative does not have to be filled with truth or facts, but it does have to make sure that it continues to highlight that no matter what, that we are the chosen ones. And that's why we have to continue, whether it's the Black Star Network or other places where you can make sure that we are uplifting and sharing our stories about how we have been able to do amazing things and continue to do amazing things. It's so critically important because erasure is real. And it is a part of how they operate. And through that erasure, they can also make sure that those who don't necessarily are not folks who read a whole lot or folks who expose themselves to a number of different types of success stories can be manipulated. So I call it the pimping of America, but, others can call it what they want to call it.
Well, and look, I mean, there's no doubt, and I'm quite sure, Scott, that you got way too many stories of walking into rooms and they thought you would help, and not the managing partner or the top legal dog, and again, and what they expect. We have to show decency, love. We have to, we got to apologize for their stupidity, even though they make the assumption that, you somehow can't be the lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Or the lead lawyer. I've sat in depositions where the other side has kept talking to the white associate, and I've trained the white associate not to respond until they figure out I'm the lead. So I'm the lead partner, and they just didn't even presume that. I've been at a reception for a bit at my firm, opening an office in another jurisdiction, and one of our largest clients came up to me and said, could you take this and get me another drink? And I'm in a $2,000 suit. There's no way I could be a partner at the firm. The first African-American associate in the history of the firm to be promoted to equity partner, let alone the first black managing partner in the history of the firm. It is the privilege piece, and it's been ingrained since slavery, just like our own slave mentality of being inferior or thinking less of ourselves as a community and not standing up for ourselves. It still lives in our blood and our bones, and there are a lot of us who fight it, right? Everybody on this panel fights it without a doubt, but there's just not enough of us fighting this nonsense. Whether it's DEI or Donald Trump is able to riff recklessly and reprehensively and just, use his platform to denigrate women and people of color. And we don't vote, so then we can't really effectively fight back because we don't control the Senate and the House. And elections have repercussions, and we're living with these repercussions. We got 2 years, maybe 4. But what happens after Donald Trump? He's indoctrinated thousands of others, judges, elected officials, state representatives, and so forth and so on. This is going to be a long fight simply because we didn't vote in the masses the way we should. Despite telling America how she should vote, America showed us that she is still who she is, not who we want her to be.
Yeah.
That's our reality. And so we got a long fight ahead of us.
Listen, I remember it was in Arlington, Texas. I was in the Dillons, and I'm looking at some suits. I just left church, and this white dude, he like 5-6 rows over. Excuse me, I need a 38. I said, who the hell are you talking to? I said, do you see the suit I have on? Does it look like I work here? I said, ain't nobody here dressed like I am. You don't see no goddamn badge on my name. I said, why you had to go get my ass a 44? See, I ain't even gonna sit there and tolerate it. It just ain't gonna happen.
Hey, Roland, you know what? Let me share a quick story, Richie, real quick. The Morehouse Board of Trustees 2 years ago, we were in this not limousine, but what do you call it? The Sprinter van. The chairman of the board, guys in the money game, professors, it's like 7 of us. And we had just flown in. Everybody probably flew in first class, but everybody started talking about their experience in flying or in their work experience about those very moments you and I just shared. And all 7 of them were worth millions of dollars. And all 7 of them had a story just like you told or I told. And it was a running thread of commonality of how money and success had nothing to do with how we were treated in America. That the color of our skin still dictated that we were the N-word, or that we were black and less, despite the heights we had reached after Morehouse College. How do we share that commonality? That race is the tie that binds us to the poor black kid in Southeast Washington. Economics separates us, but we're no different than the poor kid in Southeast Washington in the minds of those who are white and don't look like us and only see the color of our skin. It was an amazing conversation, and we laughed at every story. We laughed at the irony of every one of those stories. Too much, too crazy.
But see, again, though, I think part of the thing is that too many of us want to make them feel comfortable, and then we don't want any drama. So I don't want to be the angry black dude. But I will say this here, my man, and Scott, you may know him. He's an attorney in Chicago, Peter Bino.
Oh yeah.
We were playing golf, and Peter told. This probably was one of the best. I'm gonna use this one day. I'm telling you, he gave one of the best responses ever. So he's on the plane. Now Peter's like 5'5", 5'6". All right, Peter's short. Yeah. Peter's a short dude. All right, so get on the plane, first class. Old white man looks at Peter. Well, you ain't tall enough to play basketball, and you ain't big enough to play football. So what do you do to be sitting in first class?
No, he didn't.
Now, hold up. Peter said, I'm the biggest drug dealer in Chicago. And sat down and popped open his Wall Street Journal and read the paper. For the rest of that flight, that white man was in shock. He was in shock. I said, Peter, that's the best. I'm telling you right now, I'm waiting to use that one, and I know it.
That's Peter too. I believe you said it.
And I know it's coming. All right, y'all.
But it just goes back to what Pastor Lamar said. Just leave us alone.
Right. Because when I come back at you, I don't want to hear your whining and complaining. Don't say no. Because I remember we on the plane. This white woman sitting next to me. You don't get on the plane, and people know me, so they come, hey, Mr. Martin, love you, work, appreciate what you do. And so then the white woman's trying to figure out, like why are these people speaking to me? So we sit in seat 1A, 1B. She trying to figure it out, and then she's like, oh my, well, everybody keeps speaking to you. What do? You play football? I said, are your ass a cheerleader?
You play football. You got to play something.
That's the thing.
You can't be an intellectual.
I hear that.
You can't be a businessman.
I hear that.
You can't be in media. You got to be a football player or a basketball player.
I hear that. Are you a cheerleader?
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now, we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.